Firstly, I will be present for my poster presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Noor Bazlan bin Muhammad Sazanuddin. My metric number is B0717100756. So for my supervisor is Dr. Zikri bin Baharudin. So this is my poster. So my project title is about the development of data logging system for lightning event based on LeCroy 4061 instrumentation. Basically, LeCroy 4061 is the type of the oscilloscope which is made from the LeCroy company, which is this oscilloscope very powerful in order to detect the electric field and the magnetic field from the lightning strike. So basically, for my project description here is about the which is I need to explore the lightning detection system, which is I will be based on the real measurement by considering two main components, which is the zero crossing and the rising time. These two parameters will be implement in the MATLAB R2019B by using the features extraction technique, which is this technique will be calculate the value of the rising time detection and the zero crossing detection, and then for the final product I will be show in the graphical user interface GUI. So basically, the lightning is one of the most unpredictable forces of the nature. Any lightning strike is initializing with the polarization of positive and negative charge, which is within a storm cloud. The polarization generates electric field surrounding the cloud. When the electric field generated is strong enough, it will ionize and make the air become conductive. With the conductive air, the lightning strike will be occur. So for the problem statement for my project, which is there is two organization which is always observe and record the lightning strike, which is the Malaysia Meteorology System and the TMB, which is these two organizations currently didn't expose their realistic result to publish in the public. Okay, next is the objective of my project, which is I have three objectives. First one, I will be using the idea of the zero crossing and the rising time in order to analyze the negative cloud to ground strike. Next is I will be use the features of the extraction method within which is to identify the data from the negative cloud to ground strike. And lastly, I will be implement auto registration procedure for the displaying multiple data of the lightning strike in the graphical user interface. Okay, next is my research methodology, which is, as you can see here, I have two pictures, the first one and the second one. The first one is about the project overview of the project, and the second one is the flowchart of the project. Firstly, for the overview of the project, during the lightning event happens, electromagnetic signal, which are the electric field and the magnetic field, will be diffused into the atmospheric surrounding. The electromagnetic signal will be detected and measured by using a measuring method consisting of an antenna and the circuit buffer. The parallel plate of the antenna will help to catch or capture the electric field, and the horizontal plate will be made for the current induction requirement. Next is the circuit buffer, which is the function of the circuit buffer is to filter the noise and the disturbance. The oscilloscope will set to trigger level voltage, which is the TLV at the 0.3 volt, in order to auto record and displaying purpose. And lastly, the data will be process checking either the data is meet the requirement of negative cloud to ground type. Okay, next is my flowchart of the project. As we can see here, we have two stages of the flowchart. The first stage is from the oscilloscope, which is the oscilloscope will be located at the station, which is it will capture the lightning strike. So when the lightning occur, the oscilloscope will capture and identify the main parameter of the lightning, which is we have two, which are the lightning electric field and the magnetic field. So and then in the second stage, will be developed the layout of the data logger by using the MATLAB, which is in this the development of the data logger. I will be considering of six aspect, which is the zero crossing analyzer, rising time analyzer, 10 slot of data, date and history tab, reset button, and the lastly is the type of the lightning tab. Okay, once we run the system, the data will be executed into the MATLAB coding, which is in the MATLAB coding, as I said before, it will be checking either the data that insert into the MATLAB meet the requirement of the zero crossing and the rising time. If the data is not meet the requirement, it will return to the previous process, which is will be execute again until it meet the requirement of the zero crossing and the rising time. And then if the data meet the requirement, it will go to the next process, which is the data will be displayed in three parameters, which is the zero crossing duration, rising time duration, and the normalized raw data. Basically, the data will display in three parameters of the graph within 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, the data will be clear and the next data is ready to run. Okay, next is the result of my project, which is the result. Okay, the result will be shown in the layout of the GUI, which is the graphical user interface, which is I named the system as the data logger of the return stroke parameter. As we can see here, it has the normalized raw data, automatic rising time detection, and automatic zero crossing detection. And in this part, we have the table, which is consists of the data sample, amplitude, rising time duration, zero crossing duration, type of lightning, and the date of the extract of the data. And we have the load data button, and the lastly is the reset button. Okay, next we have two graph here, which is the automatic zero crossing detection, automatic rising time detection. Which is for the zero crossing detection, we have two red dotted here, which is indicate the zero crossing point of the data. Okay, for the graph of the automatic rising time detection, we also have two red dotted here, the first one and the second one, which is indicate almost about 10% of the peak happen during the data of the lightning strike occur. Okay, for the conclusion of the project, which is this project achieve all the objective, and also the outcome of the project are presented. Basically, the features of the extraction technique is one of the method is used in order to determine or identify the characteristic of the written stroke. For in the end, this project is successfully done despite working in limitation. So I hope in the future of this project may be enhanced the features beside the zero crossing and the rising time. It is much better if this project can measure the characteristic of the stroke of the written stroke in the real time. So that's all for my presentation today. Thank you.
Next is my simulation presentation. Okay, next is my simulation project, which is for my data logger system. So make sure all of the data and the format must be saved in one folder, which is we need to make sure that all the programming or the system can be functioning well. Next, I will show you my MATLAB code, which is contain about 400 line. Yes, about 470 line. Okay, for the most important component in this project or in this simulation is the push button one, which is in this push button one contain a lot of the component that will be run in my system, which is as we can see here that about the number of data equal to 10, which is this data will be running, or the system will be running about the 10 data that will be inserted to my system. Then this is the date, which is this date will be assigned as the when the data that extracting from the oscilloscope, which is in my project all the data that will be extracting from the oscilloscope, which is I will show you in this window, which is the data extracting from the oscilloscope is 25th November 2016. So basically in my project I will be implementing two parameters, which is the zero crossing and the rising time, which is these two parameter will be calculated by using the features of the extracting technique. In this system I will show you where is the line that these two parameter will be run, which is for the zero crossing, which is starting between the 283 until line 301, and then for the rising time, the extraction technique for the rising time is located at line 340 until to 377. So this is for the rising time detection. Okay, next I will be show you the graphical user interface, which is we need to enter the command guide in this command window, and then we select the file that we need to open. Basically this is my layout for my graphical user interface, which is contain about 3 axes, which is this axis for the amplitude raw data, this axis for the rising time, and this is for the zero crossing, and we have one table which is will be show the data sample, amplitude, rising time, zero crossing duration, type of the lightning, and the date. And we have also two push button, which is load data and the reset data and the reset button. Okay, next the final step for this system, which is we need to make sure that the system can be functioning well, which is I need to click this run button and it will show the specifically that the layout of the graphical user interface that we create in the layout before, which is this is my final result for the GUI. Then I will be push this load data button, which is all the data will be running in the system. So in this stage, that the data that already insert to the system, which is the data that will be circulate in the system and will be show the three graph, which is the normalized raw data, automatic rising time detection, and the automatic zero crossing detection. So in the table, it will show how many the data sample that will be running in the system, which is as I explained before, that the data sample that I will be used in the system about 10 data. So at this data sample, the number of the data sample will be shown until 10 data. So this is for the amplitude and the rising time, and then the rising time duration, and lastly is the zero crossing duration. So basically for the type of the lightning that I will be used for my system is all the data is the negative cloud to ground lightning. So this is the part for the date, which is in the import data window that I explained before, that all the data for the 10 data is where is in 25th November 2016. So as we can see here, all the 10 data is already run in this system. So this is for the last data, the 10 data that already run in this system. So when I push, the last step is when I push this reset button, all of the 4 component, which is the normalized raw data graph, automatic rising time detection graph, automatic zero crossing detection graph, and the whole component in the table will be clear by I push this reset button. So this is for my system for my project.